Hey, what's up? This is Dr. Taylor Krick at the Washington Wellness Center, and I get email notifications when new studies come out in certain topics, and recently there have been several coming out on kids' health that I just wanted to share with you, a couple big ones. One was a month or so ago, and it came out in one of the largest medical journals, the Journal of the American Medical Association. And it was just a really interesting correlative study showing that in genetically susceptible children, those that ate gluten the most in their first 5 years of life had the highest risk of developing type 1 diabetes and or celiac disease. And they looked at the correlation, and the amount of gluten that they consumed was directly proportional to their increased risk. So just a really interesting study when it comes to gluten, and just the fact that it was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association means that your typical everyday family practitioner is probably going to see that and probably going to come across that research. So avoiding gluten for your kids, I think, is an important thing, and it might not have to be a complete gluten-free diet, but just knowing that the more often that they have it, the higher their risk can go up for some of these autoimmune diseases. Now that was in the genetically susceptible group too. Another one that came out was showing the protective effects of vitamin D against gut damage and against leaky gut. And I'll read this. It was in the Journal of Pediatrics, the International Journal of Pediatric Surgery, and it's called The Protective Effects of Vitamin D Against Injury to the Gut Lining, basically. And the conclusions were that vitamin D rescued gut damage or rescued gut function by improving the permeability and restoring tight junctions. So it kind of fixed leaky gut, or some of those tight junctions that are broken apart. It restored those and led to a decrease in inflammation. So just really, really important of vitamin D. One of the most important supplements that you can give your family and your kids, and it's so easy and it's so cheap. Make sure your vitamin D levels are adequate. And then a third that recently came out, again in the Journal of the American Medical Association, but in their open network journal. And this looked at a huge study. It's called a systematic review and meta-analysis of 61 studies that looked at 20 million live births and then compared kind of their health outcomes. And women who had babies who had C-section birth were 33% more likely, had a 33% higher risk of developing autism and ADHD. So the correlation between the two is that when you don't pass through the vaginal canal for birth, it changes your microbiome, and that's things that research has found in the last 10 years, that it changes the probiotic composition of your gut. So kids that were born via C-section have a much higher risk of these neurodevelopmental things. So just really important to keep their gut health, keep their probiotics. You know, we sell certain things like infant probiotics. We sell certain things like kids chewable probiotics. Now is a great time of year, and it's always a great time of year to just keep your kids' gut health central, whether it's through vitamin D, whether it's through probiotics, whether it's both. When we're talking about our kids' immune system, it's important to keep their guts really healthy, avoiding gluten, supplementing vitamin D, supplementing probiotics, attempting to avoid C-section birth when possible.